Welcome to this week's Trope Talk. We are the Writing Gals. I'm Victorine.
I'm Michelle.
And this week we're talking about boss employee trope. What is it that you like about this trope, Michelle?
I like the power imbalance.
Hmm.
And I like that they have to overcome that.
Yes.
And I like that they're always in close quarters, like they're always together because of
Yes.
work.
Yes. And I love that having a relationship is really built in that it's forbidden
Yes.
because you can't date your boss, and it's really forbidden for a boss to date the employee.
Yes.
So I love that.
I think that it's harder to write this trope where the woman is the boss.
You think so?
I think it's a little bit harder. Um, or maybe it's just that I have a preference the other way, and so it's me.
I don't know. I love it when the woman is the boss, and because usually the woman then is more of an A-type personality, a go-getter, and love just isn't in their minds. It's just not a priority for them. And
Yeah.
so it kind of blindsides them that they're
Mhm.
they're starting to have these feelings for none other than someone they can't date, an employee. So I kind of like that.
See, I really like an alpha male,
Mm,
and I really like a protective hero, and I love it when a boss is really protective of his employee for reasons other than that they're the employee, right?
yeah.
I watch a lot of CEO dramas, like Korean and
Ah,
Chinese dramas, and I love it. I just love a male CEO who has everybody in the world would want to, like, be with him because he's powerful, he's rich, he's, dynamic and charismatic and, like, all these things, and I love when he falls for someone in his company who is doesn't measure up in any social construct kind of way.
yes.
And I really like when he uses his authority or his power to manipulate reasons to be with her.
Yeah. Ah,
And I also like when someone tries to make trouble for that person at work and he becomes really protective
mhm.
and keeps her out of trouble. So I think all of the things that I love about a CEO romance, it just works better for me with the boss being the man personally. But you can have a lot of fun with this too. I can see
Yes.
it working outside of like an office even because that
Mhm.
like I think CEO falls under the umbrella of this, but so does like the nanny trope.
Yes, the nanny trope definitely falls under this.
Yeah. And I think there've got to be more. You can have like a medical one where
Mhm.
he is like some kind of administrator or doctor and she's a nurse or vice versa. Um, One way I think it would be fun to have the female boss is if like he's her personal chef.
Mm.
That could be really fun. But what are the dynamics that make this trope work?
Well,
Besides
the dynamics are there's definitely the conflict because they can't date each other, and usually there's some kind of office rules that you can't date, people in your office type of thing, and so that's what's repelling them, and the adhesion is right there because 'cause they're working together all the time, and so
yeah. I think an important story beat for this trope is when they step outside of the office.
mm,
So before they've always been in like a public space together.
yeah,
And then you need to um, make some reason, some excuse for them to step out of public and be in private spaces with each other because then the dynamic changes.
mm,
And especially, I love when they go into not just like a private space, but like a personal space, like
yes.
their home, their bedroom, their closet. So I know.
Wow, Michelle.
So many so many good closet kisses that I have seen in dramas. And I'm like, but I also just like, okay, I love when I think my favorite is like when she is like his administrative assistant or personal assistant. And so she does need to go into or be in those private spaces. And um, it just changes everything.
Mhm.
And that's when they have to start really addressing or accepting that there is something more between them. And so that's why I really like that change.
Nice.
What do you think about business trips?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Include some business trips in with your story. That would
And
be
why?
awesome.
What do business trips accomplish?
Definitely puts them in a different setting, and, they can explore different, um, a different kind of relationship on a business trip, right?
And maybe not everybody around them knows that they're, like, in a work relationship, and
Mhm,
so they don't have to, like, keep those boundaries up as tightly.
mhm,
Um, I also think it gives you the opportunity for tropes like only one bed,
mhm,
being stranded in a storm, those kinds of situations that can propel the, increase in intimacy and give you opportunities for talk. I think that's one of the things that really is another important story beat for this trope is when they have those deep conversations, right?
yes,
So for whatever reason, they have time to not just talk about work, and they switch over to talking about personal lives, their, backstory kind of stuff, their preferences, their dreams and goals and ambitions for the future, and that creates an emotional intimacy between them
mhm,
that and then the, contrast between that intimate moment that they have there. I mean, strictly emotionally or whatever you decide, whatever you write. But I mean, like the emotional intimacy of that moment. And then when you juxtapose it, when they go back to work again.
yes,
And so this is all about contrast. Every step, every change in their relationship, every story beat should be about showing the contrast between public work and personal and private conversations and changes and dynamics. Um, and so you can really highlight the change that's happening between them and the obstacles, the longing for
mhm,
I wish this wasn't forbidden. I wish I could be with her, but like all these things are in the way. One of my favorite ones that I've written was A Man Worth Shaving For. And he was kind of a boss in that he had the ability to fire her.
mm,
And that was the conflict that was hanging over them through the whole book was that there was a time clock there, like at the end of 2 weeks, he had to make a decision on who to fire in her office, and she was, like, on the list of people he had to consider, and
wow,
so it added this conflict in this, like, time frame, that was a really interesting dynamic. So, what have you written in the Boss Employee that you've liked?
oh, so the one I'm thinking of is actually a novella I wrote for a collection called the Blind Date Collection, and, what happened was she went to the assigned blind date, she saw him and sat down, started talking with him. He was the wrong guy, but he went along with it 'cause he didn't wanna embarrass her at first, and they have this wonderful blind date, but he didn't come forth and say, "You know what? I'm the wrong guy," be because he never thought he'd see her again,
Yeah,
and
I
then he's her boss. Then
yeah,
so
surprise!
so she
And then
finds
your mom.
out it was the wrong guy, she hates him, and then, of course, they're stuck together because he's her boss. So that
Yeah.
was a really fun one to write.
Yeah, and I talk about that when I talk about scene tropes a lot. It's a really fun thing when you can progress their interest and their attraction, and they can flirt as if they weren't at all connected. They were just two strangers meeting, and so they build up this like intimacy and interest in each other, and then boom, you just have to like snuff it out because
Mhm.
like no, this is now forbidden because I'm your boss,
Yes.
and but that whole experience they had before is always simmering in the background there.
Mhm.
And so it ups the ante, so to speak, on that
Yes.
one. And then I've written a billionaire romance where he hired the woman as his nanny,
Mm.
and so you get kids involved in the situation.
Ah,
And,
yes.
like, the grandmother character or, like, whoever else is involved, and, like and I think especially when it's, like, a nanny romance like, a private chef or something, like, where they're in their home as the
Mhm.
workplace, um, and I guess in general, my other favorite trope of The Other Woman is always really good because I love it when there's, like, some put together, got her stuff together, gorgeous model-like ambitious woman that is pursuing
Mhm.
character.
Yeah.
And she comes on the scene and it makes the employee character like feel like, yeah, I really don't have a chance with this guy.
Mhm.
Um, and so I really like to add that into this um trope too.
I love it. And the one I just wrote was a nanny one, so I should have thought of that one first.
Yes. I think that it's really a fun dynamic, and I think it's also one you have to be careful with because women really do hate, like, the power imbalance
Mhm.
situation, and a lot of people just flat out don't like these, romances or this trope at all because they feel really, strongly about that power dynamic difference between them, and so, I like that it adds so much conflict, but you do have to treat it carefully,
Yes.
and you can't have him be, like, using his authority inappropriately
Yes.
to force her into situations or, um, into, advancing the relationship before she's ready or
Mhm.
putting too much pressure on her or being like, you know, that kind of person, if that's, I guess, not the kind of romance you're writing. Um, so be careful with that. Just be aware that that power dynamic is one that you should understand
Yes.
and treat accordingly. Um, but yeah, and I love can I just say another character that I really like in a CEO boss kind of relationship or trope is if she's not the administrative assistant, I like for him to have an administrative assistant that is playing matchmaker or
Love
that
that.
understands like, oh, she means something to him, and
Mhm.
so he starts prioritizing this little employee that otherwise shouldn't be
Mhm.
and treats her differently and treats her with, like, respect and honor and stuff, even though she's, like, not really deserving of that in the, like, work
Yes.
situation, but he knows that personally,
Yes.
she's the one that he cares about more than anything else, and so he treats her better. So
Nice.
I feel like we should just add in the comments, like, all of the dramas that I've watched that I
That's yes. What's your favorite one that you would suggest people watch?
I think probably the easiest one to suggest it might be Business Proposal,
Oh, Business Proposal's really good.
which is on Netflix. I think
Other
that's
one
a
is
great one.
King the Land. He
Yes,
is her
that one's great too.
boss. That's a good one.
I
Yeah,
love
and those are both on Netflix. So,
yes. So there you go. Some great recommendations there.
yes. And The Proposal, not a Korean drama, but
I
a
love that
movie
one.
where she's the boss and he's the employee.
Yep. Very, very good. Well, this has been fun. And do we wanna announce what our next trope talk is going to be?
Let's just do Marriage of Convenience since that's the proposal is a marriage of convenience as well.
There
We
you
can
go.
talk about that next week.
Yes, I am looking forward to it. And you should like and subscribe if you're enjoying our Trope Talk videos. And you can also check out the Writing Gals Academy at
Yes.
thewritinggals.com, or I'm sure we'll put a link
Yes.
below. So we have just a whole library of classes that you
I've
can.
counted recently, there's over 70 now, and we add more every month.
So just by paying a monthly subscription of, is it $9.99?
$9.95, I think.
then you can have access to our entire library of classes to watch at your pace. And they're amazing classes
Yes.
that we put in there from past conferences mostly. So I hope you'll take advantage of that and join us again next week for Marriage of Convenience. I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too. Thank you, guys.
Bye.